Brigade Group Service Battalion has been tasked to move a load of combat supplies by helicopter to a combat team operating at a distant location. The duty officer completes a staff check to ensure all the required resources are on hand, that the mission coordinates are correct, and passes the requirement to the transport company command post. The transport company duty officer logs the mission and then passes on the details of the task to the Tactical Air Movement Section and the Combat Supplies Platoon. The TAMS representatives consult their technical data for the type of helicopter and slung loads to be employed and prepares a load table for the upcoming mission. At the same time, the Combat Supplies Platoon gathers the required commodities and groups them into loads as directed by the TAMS planner. Basic load criteria includes not mixing ammunition with other commodities and segregating fuel from rations to avoid contamination. Simultaneously, other TAMS members draw and check out their equipment, which includes cargo slings, nets, straps, reach pendants, CCC-1 containers, connector hardware, lights, safety equipment, and a radio. The TAMS representative contacts the receiving unit to confirm the grid, the markings of the destination landing zone, and to arrange for marshalling assistance. They also sort out the details for equipment recuperation once the task is completed. Previously, the Service Battalion LZ has been recce'd and prepared for operation. The recce has ensured that the landing zone provides a safety perimeter of 35 meters for the UTTH and 100 meters for MTH. Hard standings with the slope of the LZ not exceeding 15%. Easy access for vehicles and a parking area. Good approach and departure paths in relation to the type of helicopters and loads to be carried. Tree clearance for the approach and departure paths can be calculated by placing a man or object of 6 feet at 50 paces from the center of the landing zone. An observer's eye at the ground level then looks above the man or object. If the tree line can be seen, the path is not suitable. The process must be repeated for the slung load touchdown point. Site preparations include clearing trees and stumps in the immediate vicinity of the landing zone, removing rocks, logs, and loose debris, and ensuring the landing zone is free as possible from snow or dust. The LZ recce and subsequent site preparations are normally completed by a tasked organization and are not a TAMS responsibility. On arrival at the site, the TAMS proceeds to set up the landing zone. This includes control, layout, and access to the LZ area, setting up the LZ communications, and marking the landing zone. Location of the LZ is normally referenced in conjunction with a prominent ground feature and is identified by displaying a prearranged colored smoke or light signal. The helicopter touchdown point is marked by lights in the form of a T or an inverted Y. Loads are brought forward and stacked at the load pickup point in accordance with the mission timings and the loading plan. At night, loads are marked with beanbag lights or by ground guides with flashlight wands. A red light indicates the next load to be picked up. Prior to the arrival of the helicopters, the TAMS representative confirms that the loads on the ground meet mission requirement and that the individual load priorities have been properly established. Once the loads are staked, each is inspected to ensure that it is stable and properly built up. It is the personal responsibility of the TAMS OIC to ensure that all load criteria are met. The correct marshalling signals are of vital importance to the efficient and safe operation of any LZ. These include: move ahead, move back, move right, move left, move down, move up, landing direction, take off, land, and hover. The marshaller concludes each signal in the hover position. The basic ground team includes the LZ controller, a ground marshaller, a hookman, and a safety man. The LZ controller has the overall responsibility for the operation of the LZ, including all the involved safety and load parameters. The ground marshaller provides all marshalling directions to the helicopter. The hookman is responsible for hookup activity, and the safety man watches out for and assists the hookman as required. Personnel operating under or near hovering helicopters will wear helmet and eye protectors at all times. At an appropriate time, the LZ controller establishes communication with the helicopter to confirm details of the mission, the loads to be lifted, and the weight of loads.
Hotel Niner, this is
Any unusual information on the destination landing zone is relayed. A radio homing signal may also be required to assist the helicopter in locating the LZ. In a tactical situation, the LZ identification signal, along with the approach lights, would only be displayed just before the arrival of the helicopter. A complicated lift may require the helicopter to land so that the TAMS representative and the helicopter loadmaster can conclude the necessary liaison prior to starting the movement operation. After arrival, the helicopter is directed to the desired load. The ground marshaller signals instructions to the flight engineer, who uses the aircraft intercom to direct the pilot. The hookman stands on the right of the load, holding the ring of the reach pendant at an appropriate height. When the jaw of the cargo suspension hook is at the right point, he slams the ring into the hook. He then checks for positive closure, confirms closure to the flight engineer, and then exits to the right, confirming his departure to the pilot. The marshaller signals for takeoff, and the helicopter picks up the load and leaves for the distant LZ. Safe practices are an important part of any operation. Ground personnel must exercise caution during the hookup operation to prevent them from being trapped between helicopter skid and the load, from being thrown off balance by reaching for the hook, or from being shocked by a charge of static electricity. Spoilers or drags may have to be added to prevent the load from flying up and damaging the helicopter, or making wide oscillations during forward flight. A swivel may be required in the hookup strap to prevent it from breaking should the load spin. And the hookup strap should be kept short so as to prevent whiplash damage to the helicopter's radar dome should the strap break. This production shows the basics of the TAMS ground activity in conjunction with an aerial resupply mission. This production should be viewed in conjunction with the D&D production on Helicopter Resupply Operations Part 1.